We both come from Republican families. My dad served in Congress for 14 years, chairman of the Republican Party. I cannot even imagine what he would be thinking. They're just disgrace isn't even a word, right? That's encapsulates. And then Lauren Boebert throwing, a pin for a little girl who was shot to death, to throwing a pin in front of the garbage in front of the person that gave it to her. It's just garbage people. That's what I guess the word is, the phrase is I'm looking for. Your thoughts?
I think so. It's basically like they took the John Birch Society and then they took the DNA of that group and put it into an actual birch tree. Then, when that birch tree reached maturity, they cut it down, they carved it into little figures of people. And now those people are saying, "Look, Papa, I'm a real boy." You're not a real boy. You're a horrible human person.
Horrible,
You have
horrible.
no business being in Congress.
I gotta say, and after my mom's death, like I was saying, Karl, if you heard the show Monday, but just she famously used to call her my 95-year-old Republican Fox News watching mom. Like when she would, I remember when we did Sexy Liberal Asheville, I didn't know what room she was in, but I could tell from how the one that was playing Fox really loud because her hearing was starting to go. But love is all there is at the end of the day. I would have given anything for her to have been able to enjoy Fox News in the last few years. She lost her hearing, her sight. I mean, but that's the thing. This is when they were decent people in the Republican Party. I kept thinking maybe we can heal this one person you love at a time. And I came back to this news, to, Abbott telling them to push women and children back into the Rio Grande and put razor wire in there, to, Lauren Boebert throwing you know what it was? It was the sneaker. Do you remember the story? The little girl that wore green Converse sneakers because she loved the forest and stuff so much. And that's the only way they could identify her body. That's what the pin was. That this, I'm gonna lose my FCC license too this week. That she threw in the garbage. Lauren, Marjorie Taylor Greene waving, pics on the House for no other reason than just the whole point is just to be horrible, right?
Well, and if she'd been in a relationship with Biden, it'd be a crime. Um, so I there have always been people like this in the Republican Party, always, but they were never the mainstream of the party, and now they are.
Yeah.
It used to be that if somebody like this existed, somebody would stand up and make sure people knew that they were not speaking for everybody else. That doesn't happen anymore. That went out the window
We're
when
out
they.
here. I have friends, there are many friends that are writers. We all do, that in the writers' strike out here. I've kept thinking you couldn't write villains like this. They would be thrown out in Hollywood for being too awful. I mean, Mayo tweeted, "Who else remembers when Lauren Boebert tried to have Nancy Pelosi killed by tweeting out her location during the deadly insurrection?" I mean, I don't know what you think of where we're at with the charges, Karl, but I sure hope these congressional conspirators are going down as well.
Well, I have no idea where we stand. I mean, we're seeing things beginning to percolate outside of the direct Trump orbit. So, the fake electors and everything else. So we'll see. But I'll tell you what, we don't have to wait to measure out some accountability here. There's a dude by the name of Frisch running against Lauren Boebert. No relation,
Vote
but
for anybody named Frisch. Just make sure they have a D.
yeah, people can support him. But this is what we've got to do, right? We don't have to wait for it. We have to show up, we have to vote, and we have to vote like it is once again the most important election of our lifetime. And they will continue to be until we put this chapter behind us as a country.
And Karl, where you are and serving, so well on your school board in Virginia, it's even the people that are cast as the moderate kind of, Glenn Youngkin ran as, we're just about protecting the kids and we're on the parents' side. And you said Youngkin now working to deny LGBTQ plus kids life-saving suicide prevention resources. This after fighting school efforts to accept and support LGBT students. Horrifying combo. You said 2 weeks after removing a web page with suicide prevention resources for LGBT youth, the Youngkin administration announced today it's pressing forward with its attempt to gut protections for trans students and their families. Unconscionable. Cruel. just I worked with with the Sexy Liberal Cause here in LA's Trevor Project.
Right.
My ex was on the board there. I mean, life-saving work, given the suicide rate of gay and trans kids, right? And this is
Well, and what exacerbates it is society not accepting them. And just yesterday, day before yesterday, um, the empty vested governor Youngkin here announced that he would be pushing forward model policies that roll back all of the protections for trans kids, or suggest that school divisions do that. And these are kids. We should just be doing everything we can to make sure that they can show up at school and focus on learning and not have to carry the baggage of other people's hate around with them as they walk the halls.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just could not be starker. Right? We did yesterday the Biden Harris, trying to figure out new ways of on student loan debt relief. It's just. And it's just the contrast on the other side of someone throwing out a pin of a little girl, killed by gun violence. I mean, it's just, they are all about stunts. They're just about stunts and cruelty, because
It's been political stunts for years at this point.
yeah,
Certainly, predating the Trump administration, but certainly entirely the last few years have been,
yeah,
one after another. But again, like the only way that this stops is if they lose electorally, right? We've talked before about how it's a choice for them to hurt politically now or hurt politically later. And what they're doing right now is slowly biding them time, but they're going to pay the consequences for it electorally down the road. Look at what the up and coming generations are doing with their votes, and they're not becoming more conservative. This is the millennials and Gen Z are the first two generations on record who are not becoming more conservative with age. They're becoming more liberal with age.
yeah,
And so again, it's a choice between hurting now. So you cut Trump off, you cut the crazies out of the party, just like
yeah,
Barry Goldwater did with the Birchers, and others did with or maybe not Barry Goldwater, Buckley.
yeah,
William F. Buckley did with the Birchers back in the day. And you hurt for a minute because that's a significant part of your party because you've let it metastasize.
yeah.
But you at least have viability down the road. But
Yeah.
I don't think they have those kinds of guts. I think they are always zero sum, and they will do whatever it takes to win in the moment.
What struck me this week in particular, because we played a lot of clips of my mom on my various canceled TV shows, but that Jesse Waters' mom called in. I'm sure you heard about this, and she's a Democrat. And she basically said enough with the Biden bashing, stop with the Hunter Biden conspiracy stuff. You don't want another lawsuit. You don't mean like referring to the Fox lawsuit. I mean, it was hilarious. But, you go, Jesse Waters won't change a thing in what he's doing. He'll be just as awful as Tucker Carlson. So, that's what, you look at that and laugh and think, oh, I wonder if she'll, because she still said, I'm proud of you.
Maybe worse than Tucker. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
these things get better or they always go further. So, Bill O'Reilly begat Tucker Carlson, begat Jesse Waters. And, we'll see where this, how far down the rabbit hole this goes.
Yeah. I mean, Travis and I have been commenting on this. Jason Aldean, who survived the who was at the Vegas shooting.
Yeah.
60 people killed. And he puts out this stupid song about try that in a small town. Like, basically talking about, oh, yeah, try gun. Really? Well, you know what? They will. They have tried that in small towns and slaughtered a bunch of people. They can do exactly what the Vegas shooter did and get on a high floor with an automatic weapon. And there goes your whole small town, you idiot. I mean, it's just. Noel Kassler said, imagine the caliber of a human being you'd have to be to know that 60 people were murdered while watching you perform by a mass shooter who was enabled by the USA's insane relationship with guns and making a song promoting more of them. I mean, that's the stuff that makes you lose hope, doesn't it?
It's nuts. School divisions can only do so much, and we need our state and federal lawmakers to do more. I mean, it should be noted that I think he lives in Nashville, which is not much of a small town. So.
Right. Yeah, there's that. Yeah, Sheryl Crow, said was not pulling any punches in response to his stupid song. She said, Sheryl Crow said, I'm from a small town. Even people in small towns are sick of violence. There's nothing small town or American about promoting violence. You should know better than anyone having survived a mass shooting. This is not American or small town like. It's just lame. Good for her. Ay. But, is it any different than Steve Scalise with shrapnel still in his body, voting against any sensible gun safety legislation, right?
No, and it's good to see that there are people out there that are encouraging, a national movement to, we marched together, Stephanie.
Yes, we
It
did.
feels like it was yesterday, but that was like 7 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and, thankfully the Biden administration got some work done on gun violence prevention. But there's so much more to do.
And I
There's
remember
just
you and I, before we left Charlie Pierce in the dust, many, many blocks behind us,
Well, we found him afterwards, so that's all that matters.
but I remember they played on the big screens the coverage of Parkland, and we were standing, you and I, with Parkland kids who, of course, burst into tears, and we're all holding them and trying to comfort them. And you and I are saying these kids are going to change the world. I mean, I don't know if that's where your genesis of wanting to serve on the school board started, but the fact is they will change the world, Karl, won't they?
Was part of it. I mean, we're part of this national conversation about what's happening in our country, but at the time I was like, well, what more can I be doing? And I felt like I was doing everything I could in Washington with my day job. And, the school board seat opened up where I live, and Evan was like, you complain a lot about this stuff. Why don't you do something about it? So
Yeah. Honey, thank Evan for me. Very, very sweet gesture. The flowers, they just meant everything to me that you were thinking of me, and love you. So proud of you. All right. See ya. 47 minutes after the hour. This portion of the show brought to you by... Oh, hi, Malcolm Nance. Hi.
Why, hello. Funny that you should see me.
Yes.
I would have been out of, let's just put it this way, out of pocket.
I know. Oh, can I have some super secret spy music, please?
Sure.
Yes, Malcolm